Hey, boy, they on the line for a show.
Yes.
So you can introduce them.
Yes, please. Okay, so I would like to introduce to you a wonderful couple. And I'm saying couple on purpose because when I see them out in the community, I pretty much always see the two of them together. To me, they represent like a heartbeat in the community, a force. They are like together, they're like super powerful. And as individuals, yes, they're like, you know, a star, a pinnacle. They're powerful too. But together, it's like, wow, they are just like, they're magical. The communication and the style of how they reach out to people, their love, their energy, it's like one of those things. It's like, wow, how can I duplicate this? And I don't want to sell it. I want it to be magnified, and I want it to be duplicated so other people feel that same type of energy and that power, because what they do and how they manifest, how they talk with people, how they share with people, how they love on people, it reaches outside of even the Philadelphia area. And I've known this for a very long time. And you know, I will just mention this on air because it's very important to me to mention it. When I first was in my very young 20s, my father had recently made transition. And I'll never forget this. And they have not probably heard me say this in a couple of decades. My mom was going through a very hard time with my dad making transition. And I was living in another state going to school. And I remember that their household was a household that my mom walked into where they had gathered, they pre-gathered to come together to support my mom in some of the struggles that she was having. And I just so happened to have been home that weekend from school, and I just was like, you know, spending the day with my mom, just chilling with her. And she didn't even know that they had this plan for her. That's the type of love and the type of honor and the type of protection that I'm talking about that exists still in our communities. And as a couple, as a household, and with other sisters that they invited in to support my mom during that time, I always said to myself, I'm forever indebted to them. Because I didn't have those kind of friends that were on that type of element of, you know, being supported. We were still listening to Little Kimmy, Foxy Brown at the time, I'm going to be honest. But, you know, I knew of the character of what they stood for, but not just them. I could also sense it in their children.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm welcoming you into knowing, like, no, I'm not reading their exact bios. I'm giving you the Malele style version.
I hear you. That's right.
They can give you some sharings because, like, this is what I'm talking about. Yes, nonprofit organizations exist with them. I would like for you to know about that, and I'll let Dr. Mama speak in her own voice. You know, Baba Steve's been doing work for years, even, like, you know, in Camden and, you know, things like that, in the social services. And those are the kind of people and the energy that we need and love. But I also love that it has a balance. It has a feminine and a masculine energy that makes it that much more better for me. For when young people, I've seen them invite young people in their home to play chess. I've seen them invite young people in their home when they were fundraising to send people to Africa and have dinner in their homes. So this is all about relationships. So there's more than just this my boo thing, this my husband or wife. It's different levels of relationships. And through them, I have been able to see how it's more than just, I got married. They brought the community in to their relationship. And they've always elevated the best, in my opinion, of what it means to be African.
Oh, I hear you. Well, let's hear from them. Let's hear from them.
Welcome.
Well, thank you, Malele.
Welcome to New World View. Oh, somebody want to call me right now.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you. Malele hears you as well.
Thank you very much. That was very, very inspiring. I'm almost in tears over here. But I'll tell you one thing, though. I'm happy that the community took us in because who else is out there? I mean, we all have family and relatives and what have you, but when you have some dynamic people in the neighborhood that take you in, it always appeared that we were, my wife and I, Michelle and I, were probably the younger ones out of the folks that we socialized. But it kind of like took us in wherever we went, whether that was in Philadelphia or Chicago or North Carolina, wherever we were living. There was always somebody else out there looking out for us. We always had angels following us around. I think that one of the reasons why we had angels wherever we went is because these children that we both had prioritized in our lives which is probably one of the main things that kept us together in the beginning. When you have troubles with relationships early on, those children kept us focused.
Nice.
And I think the elders, wherever we went, saw our dedication to children and lent their support to us. And so it's not just us, people out there in the community that made sure that we received what we needed as we went through this journey. Just wanted to say that.
Understood. And again, I just feel as if the magnitude of you all as a couple, because you understand that no matter where you went, you could do good. And even through troubles and times that may have not been the best, that, yes, you both had yourself, and you could center one another, whether or not something was going right or left. You always knew that, if need be, you two could center yourselves. And, that's an important factor that sometimes we don't talk about the significance of that in our community.
Yes.
And I think it needs to be elevated more.
How long has the journey been?
How long has our journey been?
Yes.
It was going on 49 years.
What?
Ooh, yeah.
49? Oh, my gosh. I don't know if I could stand to be around somebody for 49 minutes.
You know what?
I was 2 years old when we met, brother. I was only 2 years old when we met.
Oh, that's what was.
You talk about a child bride, huh?
Wow.
Hey,
But no, even when you see them, you sense joy and youthfulness in them. It's sometimes it's unimaginable to even know that they've been together that long.
Wow. Now, out of 49 years, there must have been some turbulence in the relationship. So tell us about some of the turbulence, if it's not too personal, and how you were able to get through those turbulent times.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me give you my idea of what I think happened.
Okay, then she'll tell us the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm saying. Yes, I think the fact that we had prioritized the children above all else, I think that's one of the things that saved our marriage early on through those hard times. She tried to dump me a couple of times. I wouldn't let it happen. I just would not let that happen.
Were you getting slippery and she was trying to let you go because you was too slippery?
No, that wasn't it. And let me just say this. That is one of the questions that I was going to ask you all. What has sustained your love for one another over the years? And so I love hearing again that it was children because of it, because I've always sensed that in you all, whether or not it was you all doing STEM projects with young people that I was working with, or even knowing that you all, do things with a school in the Gambia, in West Africa right now, where you're helping to fundraise money for students through the I Am Science program. Like the children have always been a centering, as far as I was concerned, when I ever can speak to you two, and I can highlight your love. And that's important. And I think that if I think back on how many times I've seen it in action, and again, when nobody else was trying to write a newspaper article, or camera wasn't there, I know that you all were doing the work. You all were doing the love work, as I say, and it healed a lot of people. It helped a lot of people. It still is. And so, I don't see no slip in that. What I see is, like you said, everybody has their times where when they go and they come back, and whatever the case may be, potentially. But the Creator knows what's meant to be, and
that
these
is true.
People were meant to be always.
Well, now I had another question.
Sorry, could I just
sure, absolutely.
From my perspective, and thank you for having us on, is that we've all heard people say, now, you can't put the kids first because, if you don't have a good relationship. Well, I never believed
that's where I was getting ready to come to. Go ahead.
Neither did my husband. We had similar backgrounds growing up. Working class families. He's from Philly, I'm from Chicago. We had very similar experiences. But even that won't make it happen. From my perspective, because I was the receiver of much of the kind of support, the level of support for my personal endeavors. I, as a grown behind woman with several children. My husband agreed to, we worked together, and I went to medical school. I went around the world pretty much, traveling and training. I never would have been able to do that if we had differences that went beyond whatever we thought we wanted for our kids. We had a shared vision. I think that's what I'm trying to say. We had a shared vision, and it wasn't just about the Field family or Strong. It was about we share a vision about African people. We share, and I think that is one of the things that was fundamentally glued us together. Awesome. We love our people. We love working with our people, and it's not a lie.
And that way. I was going to say that. I was going to say probably because you had Africa underneath your wings helped to make the flight that much easier. But I was also going to say that a lot of times, even some specialists, and I know that you sometimes do counseling or coaching to couples, but a lot of times people will say, you shouldn't stay together just for the children. If you're really unhappy and it's a toxic relationship, why should you stay there just for the benefit of the children when you know you're going to be miserable?
Right, some things can be overcome,
It's not just about your two old rusty behinds. It's about the people you brought into the world. Need, you have to provide some kind of scaffolding for them to climb on and move forward on.
Okay, up to how old should the children be before you even consider separating?
There are I don't do. I'm an MD. I don't do counseling, but I have been counseled. Let me just say that. There have been many elders in the community, friends and sisters and brothers who have counseled us on many aspects of our lives and relationships. But if there are some circumstances, if there's abuse in the relationship, all those things, those are circumstances by which I say, okay, yeah. But the things that we went through, like being broke, perpetually, being, struggling trying to find a school to put our kids in that wouldn't damage their brain, and destroy their self-esteem and self-worth. We had differences about those things early on, but you survive those because at the end of the day, you look at each other and say, what's more important? Me wanting my kid to go to a fancy school, or us finding a place where our children will learn to value and respect themselves and other people like them, and work and learn to work with them. So,
and I just want to say y'all been very successful at that.
Oh, thank you, honey. But I'm just saying, I hear my husband, he's going to give a lot of self-deprecating, like, oh, yeah. Oh, really? He had to take a lot of crap from other brothers. I'm going to tell you this. On the truth and shame the devil. Early on, when our children were very young, in the beginning, we had just 3 girls. The others came later. But, and so he's a girl dad. And he was always present for those girls in all kinds of ways.
That's important.
And he took a lot of mess from brother friends of ours, well, so-called brother friends, who, because at the time I'm in school, I'm working part-time, I'm doing a lot of things. What is my husband doing? Working part-time at Harambe Institute to pay tuition. You hear me? And so there were brothers who were like, you're not the man of the house. This woman should be she should be a supplicant to you. He took a lot of crap. And I'm going to tell you, it was all, and many times he would have to pull me back from the brothers who would be talking junk to him. He'd be like, hey, look, it's not, it's not even important. They don't need, and I look now and I see that many of those brothers are nowhere to be found. I don't know what's happening with them. I'm not trying to cast but I'm saying Steve is not the only brother who did that. I know many couples, honestly, long-term couples, who had to probably put up with that kind of nonsense. from other brothers. Or on the other hand, women who saw that he is a hardworking, good daddy who, might have tried to pull up on him a little bit. we were we were young and energetic and at the time. But we survived those things because we had people in the community who looked at us and said, "Hey, look, this is what you need to do. You need a couple dollars. Here's a couple dollars." And so now, at this point in our lives, how could we not do the same thing? How could we not? It's a responsibility that we have. I'm gonna turn it over to my less chatty mate here.
Well, she is the spokesperson for the family.
But no, honestly, even as I see you all as being grandparents, like you all are just, you're just stellar. You're just good at it, and it's loving. It's real nurturing, and it's one of those kind of things that I wish that more young couples or, even young families would have an opportunity to learn from people like you before they get engaged in circumstances where they're pretty much, sometimes relationships are over before the child even is born. They can't even last a year with one another a lot of times in some circumstances. It's like, why is that culture growing? And, what is it that we can do potentially as a community to talk about it, to be real about it? Because as of late, I'm getting more requests to have relationship workshops with teenagers. And I'm like, first of all, not trying to be smart. Why is that even on your brain? Like, you're in high school to the extent of you're worried about, having to do X, Y, and Z. And I'm going to be honest with you. I felt like that topic increased a lot about 5-7 years ago when that whole time frame came around. This is the medical part, Mama, with the HPV vaccine. And when I felt that medical places had to start explaining to young people and their parents as to even why were they giving it to them. And I felt like, this is just me, just from being in the industry, working in education, for a long time, that it was conversations that parents started having and medical providers started having in that area around sexual relations and protecting them from certain things that we weren't necessarily having with younger people some years ago. I noticed a little shift in that. And I noticed more of a curiosity in some young people with even thinking like potentially, I'm being protected from something because of this. So now I want to investigate it a little bit more. And it was just, I just found it interesting. And so I, just in relation to supporting young people and just me knowing some young people who are in their 20s now where they're having a very hard time. They're having a hard time.
Yeah, because it ain't easy out here because a lot of young girls are influenced to think that they have to do certain things in order to hold on to their boyfriend. A lot of young boys out here think that they have to display a certain type of machoism in order to try to get a girl, and they don't know nothing about it. I think that it would be good to have classes or instructions on things not to do as a teenager, not about how to a teenager should survive in a relationship, but how they should not even consider being in a relationship. Like you say, think about their schoolwork. Think about what they could do with their community, not what they could do with their girlfriend and boyfriend, because they get caught up in that and they ain't gonna be interested in nothing else but that.
Yeah, I just had I had some young folks laughing this summer because I have this quote-unquote book of poems from when I was a teenager, love poems, that I'm like, what was I doing? What was I thinking writing this? Where was my head even at? Why was I even in this particular place? But what's funny is that when you teach that kind of stuff back to young people and you expose yourself for the potential of saying, I want you to be in a place where the strong fields are now. And this is how you need to stay away from it. And like you said, focus on your education, focus on volunteerism, travel the world, do something to explore and do things and give back before you're even trying to consider going in an area that you're just not mentally mature enough to handle.
But we tell our kids that all the time, but they say, man, they're gonna call me corny if I ain't got a boyfriend.
Yeah, it's just ways of going about things that parents are very successful at. Whether or not they're single parents, parents who are together, and it all happens with taking that time out to talk with them and not just assuming that they're going to learn by happenstance or from a cousin or from a neighbor. Like you have to have those intentional conversations And I just wanted to just elevate my love. That I also felt like the activism that the Strongfields have, whether or not they're playing a role in our community that helps us to be able to meet on better terms. I felt as if that was also something that I just wanted to say to them, that I think your social life as a couple is something that is wonderful. And, some couples, they only think that social life is an example of if you're vacationing together, if you're going out to parties together and doing things like that. Whereas you all have elevated the status of how people can connect to the community and give back. And those are things, too, that younger couples, they may not even know how to engage that because they're too busy trying to show off to one another at the time, whether or not it's with clothes, with money, or, just things where, the status level of being able to sustain one another for years is not happening because it's just too many things that are just about not focusing on the years like that you all can reach and how you can get there. Yeah.
So what's next now after 49 years?
I'm sorry, say it again, brother.
I said, so what's next now after 49 years?
No, we're going for another 49.
That's right. That's what I'm talking about. That's right.
We're dragging each other along,
That's right. Ain't no need changing gears now.
Yeah,
No.
Well, would you say that? I heard you say that you both have a lot in common. You have a lot of the same interests, especially with your focus being on Africa. That's a really good interest. Do you recommend that people get in relationships if they are of different? How can I say different? I don't want to say persuasions, but different cultures. Anybody?
I'm not sure if I'm gonna give the. Okay, we let me. When I say that we had the same background, like Stephen grew up in North Philly and in a hardworking mom. For the most part, a single mom. She raised 7 kids.
Wow.
And let me tell you, yeah, and she was really pretty much my model for child. Like, she schooled me on a lot of stuff about being a mom, like being an advocate for your children. Okay, and so I took a lot from her in that way. Now, I had a mom and a dad. Grew up. We were like the Jeffersons, only the broke version.
Y'all wasn't moving on up.
Yeah, we had aspirations to move up, but once I left home, and moved away, then they really did move up. But my childhood and his were, we were similar. They were very similar, but not the same in many respects. And so when we came together, I didn't know that I was going to be as connected as I am to my African self. But I had a lot of mentors as a teenager, even, who pointed me in that direction, and I believe that Stephen did too. So when we met, first, it's the discovery part. You're discovering, you're figuring things out with each other, and we were teenagers when we met. So we're figuring things out, trying to find out who we're going to be as we're growing up at the same time. And so, amazingly, when we decided to move to Philly, because we had a couple cities that we were looking at, but we chose Philly because he had a lot of support here, a lot of family support. They became my support. We tried to figure things out, and it was a lot of hit or miss in the beginning. We joined religious organizations, we joined other groups, and we discovered that this is not it. It's close, but it's not it. But when we started having children, and I don't know if you remember in the 70s, I know you don't, Malala, you wasn't even here, but there was a big school strike in Philly.
I've heard of that, yeah.
Yeah, I was astounded. And then we had a couple of kids at the time that we needed to put them in school because I was trying to go back to school. And we tried a couple of these little, daycare centers and it was just totally inadequate. I just didn't care for what was going on. And so we started searching, and we found, because we were living in West Philly, I don't know how this even happened, but it was the ancestors that led us. We found this little place on, what was it? 59th and Spruce. And it was in a church, a Lutheran church, and it was John Skeets, Baba Caleb, Whitby, Joel Foster. It was Harambe Institute, and the teacher was Lynette was the head teacher. Harambe Institute. We went there with our little 2-year-old daughter, and they were singing. What was the song they were singing? What do I have?
Yeah.
We the Moors of Morocco. But anyway, they were singing the school anthem. I broke down crying. I said, "This is it. This is where we're supposed to be. This is where our child is going to learn about who she is." We didn't know. We had an inkling and a notion. And I thank the ancestors every day for that move. And so that's where we were for many years. We were Harambe family. We came into the CB, Council of Independent Black Institutions family. We met people from the Thamu Sasa. We met, people from Nairi Education Institute in New Jersey. I worked there for a couple of years. We met the constellation of African-centered schools. There used to be 11 of them here in Philly. They were our family, our support. They became friends. So we witnessed institution building.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And so that made an impact on a young couple. And then people were looking at us as a young couple. Now, aside from the brothers that were talking junk to my husband, we looked at people who gave us affirmation. They were like, yes, we see you trying to raise those kids right. Yeah, you're doing the right thing. Oh, by the way, here's some resources for this or that. That's how we were sustained. And so
all of them graduated from HBCUs. Okay, I hear you.
Yeah, everybody's an HBCU grad. Yeah, everybody's an HBCU.
Can you take some phone calls? Because we have a couple of callers who want to join the conversation.
Oh, sure. Sorry, go ahead.
That's all right, cool. Okay, we're going to Haraya. Good evening, Haraya. How you doing today?
Oh boy, I'm trying to find out how to get hooked up and how to stay hooked up.
For real, me too. I'm about to hold me some auditions.
Queen Aya, how are you?
Well, Aya's not on yet.
This is Mama Michelle and Baba Steve.
Oh, okay. Well, peace and blessings to you, Malili. I am listening to you, and the thing about it that I have observed, because I've never been able to do it, is that, number one, it takes a dedication to commitment. But I'm finding also that it leans mostly on the woman. As long as the woman never gives up, the relationship can survive. But it's like once we close the door and say that's it, and there's no going back, and that's been my downfall. I've never been able to just go through the hurdles, and we all know you're going to go through some hurdles, and I'm just wondering, women like yourself, where do you get the tolerance and the wherewithal? I mean, it helps to have a brother that's pretty, much
grounded.
Grounded and worth fighting for, But it's still. I find that it takes a lot of stick-to-itness with the woman, because it's brothers think and act on a whole nother plane, and a lot of times our emotional self doesn't understand that, But I'll be quiet and listen.
Oh, so you don't believe in giving brothers a 20th chance?
You know what?
I'd still be married. I'd still be married, David, if I did.
Let's see. All right, well, listen, we got We got another caller on the phone line want to join the conversation. She says she is talking to two of her favorite people. That will be me. Like, oh my goodness, Camara, I pushed the wrong button. Oh my goodness. So Camara, if you call me back in a moment, and we're going to get to it. We got another caller though waiting in the wing. Good evening, caller. Welcome to New World View. What's your first name? Where you calling from? That's you, caller.
Oh, that's me?
That's you.
Oh, peace and blessings. I was calling in because in response to the sister's comment just now, Oceroset Society District of Columbia region and Oceroset, Pennsylvania region are having a 3-day Labor Day weekend, Save the Date for Everlasting Love, Nurturing the Foundation of the Black Family, African Spiritual Male-Female Relationships Conference at 6008 Germantown Avenue in Philly. And the Friday evening is just opening up with a mixer, social mixer from 7 to 10. But Saturday, we'll also have vendors on site, wellness services, spiritual readings, health scans, and lots of conference sessions. This is the third year. We had 2 before the pandemic, 2 relationship conference intensives over a 3-day weekend. And so everything and anything that can assist us having successful male-female spiritual relationships in our African American.
Is your man going to be there?
I'm sorry?
Is your man going to be there?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just asking because, you talk about relationships, and a lot of times there are a lot of females that don't have no man. I was telling that to my granddaughter today. Shoot, man.
We have singles. We have workshops for preparing for and building a relationship. We have keynote addresses with visualizations and meditations. We have preparation and entering and relationship, maintaining a relationship, incorporating spirituality in a relationship.
Sounds amazing.
Money aspect of relationship. So we wanted to invite everyone to join the conference on Labor Day weekend.
There's a lot going on Labor Day.
Spiritual male-female relationship conference.
And where is it?
6008 Germantown Avenue in Philadelphia. It's a hybrid, both physical and virtual.
All right, thank you, because we're going to have to, thank you so much for joining the conversation. But Sister Malele, we're going to get ready to take a commercial break. Excuse me. We're just going to take a commercial break, and when we return, we're going to continue the conversation here in the studio with Sister Malele Sullivan and her guests, Steve and Michelle Strongfield, talking about black love, African male and female relationship, how to maintain a relationship. If if you're in a relationship and you think that you might need some recommendations, some suggestions, then tune in. If you know somebody that is in a relationship and that they need some coaching, tell them to give them a call. Tell them to call in. You know the drill. Grab a pad, get a pen, call a friend. Let them know that Malele is on the radio again. We'll be right back.
Founders Day is just around the corner, and we are excited to celebrate the life and legacy of our founder, Dr. Walter P. Lomax Jr. Our Founders Day celebration will take place on Wednesday, August 31st at the Parkway Central Library, 1901 Vine Street, beginning at 9 a.m. So, save the date. This is a celebration you won't want to miss. Stay tuned for more details on WURD, Progressive Black Talk Media, on air and online.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. Maybe you're not sure how you'll make rent, or you lost your job. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light. Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need.
211, how can I help you?
Call or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected. Get help. A message from United Way and the Ad Council.
Hey, this is Michael Ealy. When I'm in Philly, I listen to the New World View Show on 900 AM WURD with hosts Dave Barnes, Yanina Carter, and Q Rainey.
Hey Philly, this is Keith Sweat, and you're listening live worldwide to the New World View radio program with your hosts David Barnes, Yanina Carter, and Q Rainey, exclusively on 900 AM WURD.com. Make it last forever, baby.
What's up, Philly? This is Charlie Mack, the Big Brother of Philadelphia. Whenever I'm in Philly, which I'm in Philly all the time, I listen to Dave Barnes, my brother, in the New World View.
And we're back live here in the studios of 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live worldwide at WURDradio.com. I'm David Barnes, photo man for you too, and I'm your co-host on the Sister Malele Sullivan with a Cherish and Challenge edition of New World View. We have on the phone line with us in the waning moments of this segment, Steve and Michelle Strongfield, and we have Camara back on the phone line. I'm so glad you were able to call back and get in where you fit in. Good evening, Camara. How you doing today?
Oh, I just had to call. And Brother Dave, you know, I don't call and I listen. But Steve and Michelle, OMG.
Mm-hmm.
Two of my favorite people. We go back to Harambe Institute with Brother Majani and John Skeef and Mama Renee and Brother Caleb. And it just brings tears to my eyes when I think about their love and their family life.
Mm-hmm.
It has always been an inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell you, I can testify to their love, too, because I'll never forget. Steve, don't beat me up next time you see me. I got to tell this quick story. When Michelle was on her second round of training in Cuba, one afternoon, Brother Steve called and said, Kamara, I got to figure out how to get to Cuba because I miss my wife. He was so serious, and he found a way. I think he volunteered with Pastors for Peace or something, but he made a way to get down there to see his Michelle, and I'm just so proud of the two of them. Yeah. They just glow with love and light and commitment to the struggle. So I just had to call in. So
thank you.
I just tell you, longevity award, and the flyer you made for the night featuring Brother Abu and his Aya and Steve and Michelle is suitable for framing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I wanted to tell Sister Haraya, because she mentioned Aya. If you want to call back Haraya when Aya is on, you can feel free to do so.
Yeah. So I'm going to let you all go because I know it's more to be said. Malele, I'm proud of you, girl. Carry
thank
on.
You. Appreciate you for calling.
Yes.
Thank you.
Sweetheart. Love you all. And just keep up the good work. And I just couldn't help but call.
Thank you.
And I just got back from California. I'm tired.
What?
Call.
I'm so glad. Thank you.
All right. Peace and love.
Peace and love. Well, Baba, David Barnes, people are laughing on Facebook right now. It's your 20th chance message. I'm getting links and dings. I'm wondering where these dings is coming from. They're cracking up at you right now, Baba Barnes. I said, Lord have mercy, help me.
Yeah, give the brothers a chance. They try to get it right.
Yeah, they listening right now. Okay, y'all. No 20th chance. It's out.
Let me just say something real quick about that.
Sure.
Sister Haraya said, it's on the women. But let me just kind of turn that notion on its head a bit. Because I actually tried to dip out a few times. And my husband was like, we got to make this thing work. He was the one who was, in the early stages of this thing, he was the one who was responsible for keeping things tight. Because I was ready to go. A lot of times. I was overwhelmed. I had a bunch of kids. I didn't even one kid. That's what I thought early in my, my teen years. And his steadfast, ability, his ability just to stay calm and stay like, we can do this. Yeah, we're broke as hell, but we can get through this. And so, it's not always the sisters. This brother, the kind of nonsense he had to listen to. If he had any kind of insecurity as you know, insofar as who he is as a man and a father and a husband, he could have split. He did. So, in this case, he says nowhere to go. Right?
Yeah, where we go?
But I'm just saying that people say, I don't know, people say all kinds of stuff. It's got to be 50-50. It's never that. It's like sometimes you just don't have it to give, and the other partner has to do it for a minute. And then other times you are evenly yoked and you pull together. But, it's just never like that totally. And in this case, especially in my case, and with this relationship, many times it was him who, pulled the reins and said, okay, well, look, I know you want to do this in your life. Go on overseas for 2 years.
Wow.
He did this. I'm telling you. I'm gonna
2 years?
I'm going to let you go.
That's how strong that relationship is. See?
We early on, this was around the time the move thing went down, because we live in West Philly. Yeah, that was 85. So we were talking about leaving the city. But when they moved to the point where my windows in my bathroom shook, we looked at each other and said, we got to get out of here, And it came down to flipping a coin as to whose prospects were better. He was interviewing for jobs in Ohio, and I was interviewing in a postdoc program in Southern Illinois. And the coin came my way. And rather than raise a fuss and, go crazy, he packed us up. We packed up and split. And we left Philly for about 10 years, right?
Well, I was wondering about that because I used to occasionally watch Kevin Samuels on TikTok. And he would often say that a lot of times women get into careers and then they don't feel like their mates are at their level, and that's a lot of times where some of the problems come in. Did you have that situation where you were becoming a nurse and traveling around and felt like maybe your husband wasn't at your level?
I'm going to jump in here on this one, brother.
Well, I don't know if you could answer for her, but you can jump in.
Yeah. One of the things that attracted me to Michelle was her intelligence. I mean, I was physically attracted to her. But when I found out how smart she was, I wanted to be around her. I dropped out of high school and joined the Air Force and wound up getting a GED. But watching her go through college, she was at Boston College, and I was just floating around out there in Boston. And seeing her accomplish her academics made me want to go to school. So I liked being around her because I knew she was smart, well-read, and I was impressed. The smartest person I knew. That made a difference in the long haul, I think. Mm-hmm. The fact that I respected what she knew.
I know because there are other times when some males are threatened by their females' accomplishments and career choices, and they feel threatened like, well, she's going to get smart and leave me for somebody smarter.
Oh, well, I never had that problem. Matter of fact, I wanted her to get it faster. Just get it fast.
Let's hurry up and get it.
I'm getting it, but can you do it a little quick? That kind of.
Okay, that's your version. Let me hear hers.
My version is this. Steve is a really smart guy. He's pretty self-deprecating, but he's a really smart guy too. In addition to just being like my friend, because we were friends.
Yay! There's that word I wanted to hear.
My God, like my best friend even today, but he came. I'm gonna tell you, and I'm gonna lay this at the feet of his mama, Gloria Wilder, wherever you are tonight. Girl, you raised a hell of a son.
Hey, I like that. Yeah.
He's supportive. You know what I mean? He's not like Malele will tell you, we have a sister group. And a lot of times, Steve is the only brother that they invite. They be like, hey, look, no other brothers can come. Can Steve come?
Yes, he can, always.
Somebody
and we make sure he go home with meals and everything, too. We love him that much.
when some other brothers, I don't know, they may feel some type of way about it. He's not insecure in that way. And this is how it was when he put me through school. Like, I think he was really proud of me. He was cheering me on. He was always my greatest cheerleader. And so the MD, even though I never really celebrated it, or anything, maybe on that 50th anniversary, I'm going to get me a cape and a gown and really give myself a celebration, because the year I got my MD was also the year that one daughter graduated from college and my son graduated from high school.
Wow.
So one was in New Orleans, one was in Chicago. So I never got a chance to really, say, yay me, but I just had to get to work, after. And he was right there. So, instead of we were never in competition with one another. I never felt like he was threatened by anything. Like, he might have been threatened by some of them left hooks I might have threw.
Whoa.
But in terms of a real, just a emotional support all the time. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to tell you, it's his mama who raised him that way. Mm-hmm. Not to be insecure around in the company of women, never to feel inadequate. And plus, he's the perfect girl dad, and his first 3 kids were girls. Mm-hmm. So, they're wonderful, strong women who are totally in love with their father. Mm-hmm. So,
and it's so much better when girls can see that they have a strong father in the house. Man, that makes a world of a difference.
That's how it was for me.
I can imagine. Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Hey, everybody is still here? Okay, we got another caller want to join the conversation. Is everybody okay?
Awesome.
All right. Okay, let me see who we got here. Yes, good evening, caller. Welcome to New World View. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Ashaki, and I'm a West Phillyite. Mm-hmm. And gosh, I can't say enough about Steve and Michelle. Mm-hmm. To know them is to love them. Everything that you've heard is so. I met them through a mutual friend of ours, Roz Seabrook, and she says, you're going to like Steve and Michelle. And as soon as I met them, they embrace you as family. You see the genuineness. Your children are their children, and your grandchildren are. And there's just a specialness about them. They truly love one another. They are hilarious.
Oh, my God, yeah.
They are. To be in their company is like, you're going to come out laughing. The other thing about them is that both of them, Michelle talked about Steve's mother, and she's amazing, but Michelle's mother is amazing, and their family, it's intergenerational. They are the gold standard to me for what Black family is. Mm-hmm. On a more intimate level, I remember, you see Steve and Michelle laugh and talking BS about each other and all, but I remember this one particular time I was at the Kimmel Center, and I was, there by myself, and I'm in the balcony, and I look down and I see Steve and Michelle, and they were like 2 teenagers. Just looking at each other's eyes. He's holding her, she's holding him, and this is, you would, if you didn't know, you would think, oh, maybe they just met, maybe they're going on a new date and all, but there was just this magicalness, between them.
It's a wonderful thing to be able to share your love with someone. I love loving people. I love loving someone because it's nothing feels better, So I understand what you said. You look at them and you can see it in their aura.
It's genuine. It's genuine, and it's like there was no one around that they knew, was around, but it's there. They have each other's back. That they have their children's and other children's, and this is consistent. We have gone over their house and left 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and the kindness, the love, it's generated, and I am so glad they are being publicly recognized. I just can't say enough about it, and Malayla, you do an excellent job.
Yes, she is.
Michelle, I love you much.
Thank you.
And,
Thank you.
Yeah,
It's my village.
I just had to say something.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Yeah, just had to say something.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
All right.
Thank you. So let me just share Robert David Barnes while they're still on the line with us before our next guest call in, is that their extension of their love, as we've been hearing, people invite them into their homes. They invite people to their homes, etc. But I want, please, if you could, family, to talk about the I Am Science program and how your extension of your generosity is even crossing, continents. It's crossing land mass and waters. And if you could just share with people just that component of what you all have been doing for years too, I would appreciate the listening audience to know.
Okay, my husband threw the phone at me, so I guess I have to.
Okay.
After our fathers. So it's the Melvin Strong and James Fields Infinite Possibility Scholarship. But even that came before, and so we just found a young kid that we would give $500 to, and we did that for a couple of years. But then I said, hey, we need to make this bigger. We need to, this was around the time there was a lot of extrajudicial killing going on, top students, brothers down. I mean, it's nothing new, same old stuff. But this time we had the wherewithal, and I was in STEM. My daughter was in STEM. And all three of us were doing STEM, and then my other two kids were doing, support work. We decided that we were going to have a STEM program. We started presenting at conferences around the country. I know this is probably too much information, but I want to give the background. We started presenting in conferences around the country about doing STEM for African children, centering them in the sciences. And this was about 2002 and 3. 2005, we got our 501c3, and we just started traveling around, particularly in the South. We every year we're invited to this charter school called the Carter G. Woodson Charter School in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, which is where we used to live. And every summer we would do 3 weeks down there for 2 or 3 consecutive summers. And we would just program STEM. We did everything. We did, and it was a full day of school for that whole time. And at the end, we would produce, video. They could see what the folks could see. And it just happened. Then in Philly, the Say Yes to Education tapped us on our shoulders, led by, at the time, Sister Maisha Sullivan Angoza. That name sound familiar?
Yeah, I heard it before.
I think I know her.
She tapped us on the shoulder and said, hey, can you present to our kids? So we had a Saturday program where we brought microscopes. I mean, my poor husband was dragging a pallet of microscopes into the school auditorium, cafeteria. And we did hands-on science. And we've developed since then. We still believe in the hands-on concept where we get children involved from the bottom up because they're the original scientists. They need to know these things. Mm-hmm. We give them a history of sciences depending on what we focus on because every year is another topic. These last several years we've been talking about urban agriculture. And food deserts and food apartheid, and talking about self-sustaining food, how food is so important. And why don't we grow it for ourselves? And why don't we, why are we dependent on, other people and places? And so I started with Lotus Academy, and I'm working with some kids from Sankofa, and we're looking to spread our impact. But part of the other thing that we do is we have to raise funds because we give this scholarship called the Infinite Possibility Scholarship. We started off just giving it to brothers who wanted to go to a HBCU, and then not just to a HBCU, but any post-secondary training. But over the past few years, I became acquainted with the sister, Francine Fulton, bad sister, Dr. Francine Fulton, who had a school here in Philly called the Imani School, the Imani Circle. Well, she took that concept to the Gambia and went from one level of 3 or 4 classrooms to this 2-story, 3-story huge setup in the Gambia. And so we supply the two young sisters the same money that we give one kid here. We can give the same money, give it to 2 young sisters are chosen, and that pays their tuition, books, and fees for the year.
For the entire year.
For the entire school year. So we just said we just gonna hustle and just make the money, whatever money we need to make. We just gonna do it. We do flea markets. In fact, I do the Uhuru flea market pretty regularly. Not this year so much, and then the pandemic messed me up pretty badly. But we've already awarded the two U.S. students, and Dr. Fulton will get the money for the 2 Gambian sisters on her return. She'll be back from Gambia probably in a couple of weeks. And so that's what we do. That's part of what we do with I Am Science. We center African children and get them to know who they are, and their tremendous contributions historically in the sciences, all areas of science. Whatever I don't know, I know somebody who does. And that's what we do.
All right. So, well, listen, Steve and Michelle, and Malele, you have your next guest waiting in the wings. And I still have my question of the week. I'm going to ask this question of the week now. I'm going to repeat it and see if anybody has a view, if Steve and Michelle has a view. I don't know if Steve and Michelle saw the video. I don't know if you saw this viral video that's been on the internet about this black female who was arrested by a police officer in Atlanta because her and her boyfriend were parked in a park after hours. Now, I don't know if y'all saw it, but I'm going to pose the question now. And if anybody out there in the audience did see it, I want to know what your view is. Now, the police officer pulled up on them when they were in the park. They happened to be standing outside the car, but they was in the park. It was after hours, and there's no parking, and there's no admittance in the park after hours. So the police comes up, and he tells them that they're not supposed to be in the park after hours. And they said, well, I didn't know that. I'm from out of town. And they said, well, that's not really a legitimate excuse, So he asked for their identification. And the man said, well, he told us, well, look, you're not supposed to be in the park, so I'm going to write you a ticket. I'm going to write you a citation. So the man says, well, do I have to sign this? And so the police officer said, well, yes, you do have to sign the citation, or else I'm going to have to take you to jail. So he reluctantly, but he signed it. And then he called the female over. He says, well, look, I'm going to have to write you a citation too. And she started giving him an attitude. And when she started giving him an attitude, it escalated his ego injuries. And he went off and he gave her a couple of chances to sign the citation. And she said, I'm not signing the citation. And he said, well, you got one more chance. You're going to sign the citation, I'm going to take you to jail. And she said, well, I'm not signing it. So he began to try to put the handcuffs on her. And as he was trying to put the handcuffs on her, she was actually resisting arrest. And she kept pulling away. He wouldn't let him put the handcuffs on. And so he pushed her down to the ground and started to handcuff her. And she was screaming and hollering. She said, okay, I'll sign it. but it was too late. He said it's too late now because he had already got things in motion. So I wanted the people that saw this, what is your view? Because when she got in that police car and she was praying up a storm, I ain't never heard nobody pray so hard in my life. And as compassionate as I am, when I heard her praying, it made me cry. Because I could feel her pain. Ooh, she was crying up a storm. And I said, oh my goodness, But anyhow, I want people to call in and let me know what you think. And Malele, I want your view as well.
Yes, well, listen, honestly, my view is that, I'm going to keep it real with you. My view is that the positive things outweigh the negative. I think that was a negative circumstance. The energy that I'm staying on for this show is about, how people react in relation to trying to keep things out of crisis mode. Mm-hmm. And that particular person right there, she's in crisis mode. And to go back to what Dr. Michelle was saying, she's trying to help people not to be into a circumstance when they are in trying to educate themselves, trying to keep themselves out of a circumstance where they're in constant need by doing the I am science work. And so I know that they are $1,000 away from their goal. And so, the fundraise it's not an easy thing, especially during these times. And you can find it on Facebook if anybody was interested by going to Michelle's fundraiser at I Am Infinite Possibility Scholarship Fund. But that woman, she needs a village. She needs people to connect, to help support her. And there's ways in which you have to also learn how to cut yourself off in a way that you can outlive that exact moment. And that's what I would say to that.
What about you, Steve?
No, I'm with Malele on that.
Yeah. Well, again, because we have our guests waiting on the wings, waiting on the line, I just wanted to pose that in case anybody else wanted to call in and share their view. Because I felt bad for the woman, but I think that she brought that on herself, and I was explaining to my granddaughter, she was challenging the police officer's authority. And I think that's one of the problems that we have as black people. We are often in a crisis mode. We stay in a crisis mode all the time. So we are often already angry and mad and don't, and then when we confront it, we want to challenge. And as Malele said, it's always a way that you can walk away and fight it, challenge it another day in court or something. But to be so uncooperative and resisting, I don't think that was the appropriate thing to do. I felt bad for her after she had to go through all of that. But I'm saying to myself, if it were me and I was a police officer, I would have wanted to let her go. But when police officers start something in motion, I was telling my grade, they have to follow through because they have to write a report. And they don't have the authority necessarily to let people go on the street unless you write. Then they can find an excuse to say, okay, we'll let you go this time. But with black people, they don't hardly ever let them go. They want to finish the report because then there's lieutenant, they start saying, well, what happened in this report? Why did you let them go? And you got to explain all that. So I felt bad for her, but I think that she should have checked her attitude from the gate, and maybe she wouldn't have had that problem. And I think that that's one of the challenges that we have is our attitudes towards authority. And no matter what we think about the police and the authority, they are an authority. And he was making official commands, and she was not following his commands.
Sure.
But I cried. I cried. She was praying up a storm. But listen, we got to go. So maybe you want to say, if any final words that Michelle and Steve want to say, because we got Aya waiting on the phone lines, and I do want to give us some time. They're my very special guest.
Yeah, awesome. I just want to say, light and love, family. Thank you so much for your dedication, not just to each other as a couple, but as to a family. And just love y'all. Love y'all so much.
We love you
too. We love you too, honey. And Brother David, thanks for having us on. I know we kind of went a little long, but
no, information is never long. It's good information.
We were talking about if we, young people didn't think we were so corny, we wouldn't mind talking to them.
Yeah.
It's all in the design. We're gonna work this out seriously because I think it's just so needed. Yeah.
All right. Well, we're in.
All right.
Take care. All right. Y'all have a good rest of your evening.
All right. Peace and black love.
All right.
Good night.
All right. All right. We're going to jump.